Hello there and welcome. In today's video we'll be making this front button dress with color, Peter Pan color, and sleeves for a 5-year-old child. We will be cutting this from scratch and it is going to be pretty simple and very easy to follow along. Trust me, this tutorial is very detailed. You do not want to miss any part of it. So if this is a video you are interested in, then please stick with us till the end. Before we get right into the details, don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, like our videos, comment and share with your friends. Let's get into the details. So I'll be making use of this fabric. This is actually called a seersucker fabric. It has these wrinkles on it that makes the fabric extremely beautiful. I'm making use of 4 yards because this fabric is actually a short length fabric. I use way less than that anyway, so you can use 3 yards to make your outfit. So let's go ahead and then cut out the pieces for our dress. So I've cut out 2 pieces of fabric to make the top part of this dress. They have a shorter one and then a longer one. I'll be cutting out both the front and the back together. The shorter one is about 16.5 inches in width and the length is 11 inches. And for the longer one, I have a width of 20.5 inches in width, and then the length is same as the short one, 11 inches. So I'm going to fold this fabric into 2. I'll fold both fabrics into 2, making sure that the sides are properly aligned. Then I will place the shorter fabric on top of the longer one with the folded sides facing the same direction, and then the pieces also facing the same direction. I have an excess of 2 inches at the folded end for the longer fabric. I'll be using the longer one for the front part of my dress. So I'll fold in the 2-inch excess I have, fold it so that it goes beneath the fabric. Then I would mark out my shoulder length. For this child, I'm working with 5.5 inches. I'm using a chest line of 5 inches as well, so I'll mark that and connect both points with a straight line. So at the hem of this fabric, I will mark out 7.5 inches for my waist measurement mark. Then I would connect this waist measurement to my chest line this way, and I also extend this line out to touch the line we made from the waistline. The next I'll do is to curve in my armhole. So to curve in your armhole, you just need to go up by about 2 to 2.5 inches and connect to the chest line. For the neckline, I'll be doing a neck width of 3 inches by 1 inch for the back. Then I will draw in my back neck first, and then I would input 2.5 inch for the front, so that will be my front depth. I'll also connect the line this way to draw in the front neck. When I'm done with this, I'll be dropping my shoulder by 1/2 inch and reconnect to touch my neck curve with a straight line. Very simple. We are done with the top part. We'll go ahead and then cut this out. So because I'm cutting both the front and the back together, I'll cut out the back neckline first, and then I'll take out the back piece, which is the topmost part, and afterwards I'll cut out the front. So the front has that excess of 2 inch where I'll be using it to create my placket for my button and my buttonhole. So I'll continue to mark out the front neck onto the bottom fabric. Then I'll take out the back part of this fabric and I'll go ahead and cut out the front neck. So I'm done cutting out the front. This is what the front looks like. I'll be needing 2 pieces for the front, so I'll separate the front pieces of fabric by cutting out the mid section of this fabric. So I've separated the front pieces. I have 2, one for each side of the front. The next I will do is to fold in my placket. So I'm going to fold in 0.75 once and then fold it again a second time. So this is going to be my placket, and then I'll stitch from the top to the bottom on both sides of this front piece of fabric. Remember, I'm folding in twice and it should be exactly at 0.75 inches. So I've stitched it down and this is what they look like. So I wanted to recheck and I indeed have 0.75 inches for my placket on both sides. I have a bit of excess fabric at the top here, so I will just fold in both pieces of the front and then trim off the excess fabric to complete the front neck. So I am done. This is what the front pieces look like, and I have a single piece for the back. The next thing I'm going to do is to be joining the shoulders of the front and then the back together. So I'll join them on the sewing machine by 1/2 inch on both shoulders. So I've stitched the shoulders down. Both shoulders are complete now. The next thing we are going to do is to be creating our sleeves and our collar. So let's go ahead and then cut out our sleeve pattern. So for the sleeve, I have here a piece of fabric which measures 11 inches and then the width is 6 inches. So I'm cutting out the first sleeve and I'll use it to cut out the second later. So I'll fold my fabric into 2 and I have the folded end towards the side, and then the 2 pieces are here. The first thing I'm going to be doing is from the top, I'm going to mark out 3.5 inches and then rule a straight line across. Then at the bottom, I will mark out 4 inches. This is half of my sleeve circumference. Then I will connect this to the line we drew at the top here, and then I will draw in my armhole curve. So the armhole curve is like an inverted S, so you just draw in, shape the armhole curve nicely so that it will come out very well. Then I'll go ahead and cut out the sleeve piece. So it's that simple, very easy to do. So I'll cut it out and then I'll use this piece of sleeve to cut out the second sleeve pattern. So I've cut out the second and I have here 2 pieces of sleeve, one for each side of the armhole. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create notches at the crown of the sleeves. Then I will trim off about 1/4 inch from each side of the sleeve. So this is going to be the front side of my sleeves. You know, the sleeve has both the front and then the back side. I'll just mark it so I don't get confused. This is the front and this is the right side of my sleeve. So to create a bit of design, I'm going to be using this cotton print of fabric to just finish off the round sleeve circumference of this sleeve. And this fabric is 1.75 inches in width and 10 inches in length. So I'll just stitch this from one side of the sleeve to the other side, and then I'll fold it in twice and then top stitch it from one side to the other, repeating the same process for the other sleeve, just to create the design at the end of this sleeve. So this is what we have. The sleeve is ready. The next thing I will do is I will match the notch on the sleeve to the mid of the shoulder of my top piece of dress. Then I'll pin the sleeve onto the armhole area. So I'll be pinning from the mid shoulder through to the armhole, each side of this armhole. Then when I'm done with this, I'll head to my sewing machine and then stitch the sleeve down on 1/2 inch. So I'll be repeating the same process for the other armhole as well. So I've stitched my sleeve down and my top part of the dress is almost complete. So we are going to go ahead and cut out the color of this dress. So to do that, I have folded my top piece of this dress into two, and then I'll set it aside and I'll bring in my fabric for my color. So to make the color, I have here 2 pieces of fabric that I've cut out. This fabric is 12.5 inches in width and 12.5 inches in length as well. So I'll fold this fabric into 2 this way, and then I have the folded end here and then the pieces towards this side. So I'll be having 4 pieces here. The first thing I'll be doing is to mark 3 inches from this side of the fabric upward. I'll mark it. Then I will bring in the folded top part of my dress, and then I'll place it such that the center back of this dress touches the 3-inch mark we made on the fabric. Then I would pull this top part until the other side, that is the center front of this side, excluding the placket, touches the folded end of my color fabric. I hope you understand. So to make this very easy for me, I just pinned the top part of this dress, the neck region, so that my fabric does not shift while I'm trying to mark out the neckline onto the color piece of fabric. So I'll place the center back onto the 3-inch mark and then bring in the center front as well to touch the folded end, excluding the placket. The placket should not be marked. Then I will just curve in the neckline. So I'll draw in the curve, mimic the curve on the top part of my dress. So I'll draw in the curve this way. It's important to get this right, so kindly take note. So when I'm done with this, I'll mark out 3-inch all round on this piece of fabric, away from the curved line we just marked. So I'm shaping my color. This is my Peter Pan color drafting process. I will join the point with a curved line, making sure that this color looks very good. And then at the front area, I will just draw in a slant curve. So I'll just curve in and cut out my color. So when I cut it this way, I'll be having 2 pieces for my color. So one is going to be my under color, while I'll be using the other for the top color of this Peter Pan color we are working on. I'm going to measure from the front through to the back of this color all around, and then I would take note of this measurement and cut out a long strip of fabric, which is at least 3 times the measurement we got after measuring. So I have here a long strip of fabric which is 1.75 inches in width, and it is 3 times the measurement we just marked. So I'll fold it in and then draw gathers to create a design on this color, fold in the ends and then create gathers all over. So I've created the gathers, and this is what my gathered piece of fabric looks like. This is actually a cotton fabric that I'm using to create this design. So I'll place this onto the color. This is the right side of the color. I'll place the gathered fabric on and then just run a loose stitch onto this gathered piece of fabric on top of the color all round, And when I'm done, this is what it looks like. So when I'm done, the next I'll do is to bring in the top color, right sides facing each other. I'll place it on top of the color this way, and then I would also head to my sewing machine and then stitch this color on top of the other color. So I'll not be stitching the curved side of this color, which is the neck region of this color. I won't be stitching that place, but I'll stitch all around. So I've done that. Remember to create tiny notches all around so that this color relaxes nicely on the dress. Create tiny notches all around, and then when I'm done with these notches, I would turn my color inside out, and this is what the color looks like. It's looking very beautiful and very simple. I hope you are enjoying this tutorial, and you remember to give us a thumbs up. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be fixing this color onto my top. And what I'm going to do is I'll fold in the color, fold it in, and then create a notch at the center back of this color. Then on the top of this dress, I would also fold in my top and then create a notch at the center back of this pattern as well. So I'll match the notches together, and I would head to my sewing machine and run a loose stitch joining this color to the top of this shirt. So remember, this color we drafted it such that it's not going to extend to the placket. So I'll pin it down, then I'll run a loose stitch on the sewing machine from one end to the other end of the color. So I've run the loose stitch, and this is what my color looks like on the shirt. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out a strip of fabric on bias fold. So this is my strip. This strip was actually 1.5 inches in width and then long enough to cover the neck region of this shirt. So I'm going to use the bias tape to clean the neck region of this shirt. I'll stitch from one end, and remember I'll be covering the placket area as well with the bias tape. I'll stitch from one end through to the other, and when I'm done, I'll turn it inside out and then top stitch to complete the neck region of this shirt. So I've done that. This is what it looks like. Our shirt is almost complete. We have fixed our color, and then our sleeves have also been fixed. So we'll concentrate on the bottom part of this dress. So for the skirt, I have here two pieces of fabric. I'll be using one for the front and then the other for the back. This piece of fabric is 31 inches in width, and I have a length of 17 inches. So I'm going to separate these pieces of fabric, then I'll head to my sewing machine and then draw gathers at the top of this fabric. So I'll draw the gathers from one end to the other on both pieces of fabric. So I've drawn the gathers. This is what they look like. I would go ahead and then stitch this down onto the shirt of this dress. So for the front, I'll just turn it right sides facing right sides and then stitch this down on 1/2 inch, and repeat the same process for the back skirt as well. I'll be stitching the back skirt to the top of this shirt on 1/2 inch. So I've stitched it down. This is what it looks like now. So this is the wrong side of my dress. It's looking so beautiful already. Making sure that the sides are well aligned, and then I will stitch from the sleeve to the hem of this dress on 1/2 inch, and then I'll repeat the same process for the other side. Stitch the sides down on 1/2 inch. And for the bottom, I will be hemming by turning the fabric inside twice and then stitch all around the hem of this skirt. And we are done. I've gone ahead to fix my button and then my buttonholes. This is what the dress looks like. It's complete. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for making time to watch this video. We have lots of tutorials coming up in the next couple of weeks. Please do not forget to hit on the subscribe button, like our videos, comment, and then share with your friends. We'll see you in our next tutorial.